Good evening, sweet world, and welcome to a very special episode of Games Over Plastic, a DLC episode. Yep, we're coming at you with another DLC, and this one has been long awaited by me ever since I saw that our boy, one of my favorite co hosts, my other one's not here, Midnight, was playing Octopath 2. But we're here to talk about the game, go in depth, spoiler cast. We're going to start off spoiler free for those who are wondering, give our initial thoughts, but then we're going to get into the deep nitty gritty of Octopath 2. But before we begin, Midnight, how you doing?
Hey, what's up? I'm doing great. Thank you. I'm looking forward to this. Octopath 2, I finally beat it and it was an amazing game. This is my first this is like my first true real JRPG maybe, if you don't count Final Fantasy, and if we don't count Persona 4, which I did beat as well. But this is kind of like this is a real JRPG, you know what I mean? Lots of full-on turn-based combat, difficult bosses at the end, all that good stuff. Lots of grinding.
Yeah,
So
fantasy monsters, fantastical world. Yeah, definitely
yeah,
much a JRPG. Um, yeah,
so
but I'm
so
glad
it
you
was
liked it.
good, and I'm doing good. And hold on one second, and we're back. Okay, but yeah, it's great, man. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, me too. Before we get into it, though, I just want to say that if you are a fan of the show or you're just following us, you can find us on YouTube. You can find us on all podcast services all over the globe. It'd be really appreciated if you gave us leave us a review, leave us comments on the video, give us a like, 5 star, 1 star. We don't care as long as you give us a review, leave us a comment. It would be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. All right, so before we get into any spoilers, I'm going to give some initial thoughts on the game. For those of you who don't know, Octopath Traveler 2 is one of my favorite games of all time.
Ooh,
I got this game the day it came out back in February of 2023, and I absolutely fell in love with it right away. It took everything from the first game that I loved and just multiplied it by 10. From the 8 characters, I don't think there's a bad character in the game. Honestly, I think they're all very compelling characters. Some of the themes in this game are insane. Some of them are extremely dark, while others are more lighthearted. Um, but yeah, and the little quality of life adjustments they've done to the combat in this game too. Introducing the latent powers, which was not in which was not in Octopath Traveler 1. I really liked it. It gave each character a more unique feeling when they were battling, which was great. Um, I want to ask you, what do you think about the turn based combat? Because, like you said, you're not a big turn based combat guy, but did you like it?
yeah. I'm a big Western RPG fan. For people who don't know, my favorite games of all time are freaking Skyrim and Baldur's Gate 3, The
Trash.
Witcher 3, Dragon Age Origins, Mass Effect. Those are my jam. I love those. So, and most of those games, if not all of those games, are not turn based. So turn based has never been my bag really. This was one of my first forays into a game that was really like fully turn based, and I gotta say I loved it. I loved how it was implemented in this. I love like the whole BP or battle point whatever system, how you could power up your attacks. And then when you did, you got like this aura around you, and then like it looked cooler when you were doing the attack. It kind of like darkened and zoomed in, and it was like boom, like a big hit or multiple hits. Dude, it was awesome. Very cool. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, the BP system is I really really enjoy that in Octopath, and I love the break system where you can break enemies, and if you have to find out their weakness, and the only way to really find out their weakness is like by experimenting with different weapons. For some reason, anytime there would be a new enemy, I would always try the dagger first, like always, no matter what. And I think that's mainly due to my affiliation for Throne, who is one of the thief class.
Hmm.
I think she was my starter character, and I really fell in love with her, and I just loved using her. But yeah, she was my favorite character. Do you want to do a quick rundown of the 8 characters, just in case
Yeah.
people? All right, so we have um, Hikari, the warrior,
Hmm. That
Agnia.
was Hikari was my starter character, by the way.
I figured you'd start with a nice warrior class,
Yeah,
traditional JRPG.
when you're building a team, you start with the warrior. Yep, and then
Uh,
go ahead. You go ahead.
we have Agnia, the dancer, Particio, the merchant. We have Oswald, the scholar, who if I recall correctly, according to I think it was Square Enix ran like a poll like right after the game came out, and I think Oswald was the most popular starter character, and I think
Wow.
that a lot had to do with he was like a lot of in the preview for the preview coverage was like he was like heavily like thrown out there like this is the guy you need to start with.
Okay.
We have Throne the Thief, as I mentioned, my favorite character. We have Temenos the cleric. Sorry, cleric. One of the great characters in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Ochet the Hunter,
Mm-hmm.
Casty the Apothecary. Sorry. Yeah, that's all 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, great characters. Like I said, none of them I felt were weak, and the themes range from some are really dark, some are mature, but then some of them are more lighthearted.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but going off, who's your favorite character?
My favorite character by far was Temenos, the cleric, the Inquisitor. I loved his dry, sarcastic humor. He was a badass. Like
Hmm.
right when you first meet him, I remember like he's taken hostage or whatever, and he's like, "Oh
Hmm.
no, they got me," and you could tell he doesn't care because he could fuck these dudes up if he wanted to. And then we meet Crick Coon. I love Crick.
Oh my god, he's so
Yeah,
cool.
he shows up to save the day. Not that Temenos really needed him. He's the Sanctum Knight, newly appointed, right?
Hmm.
It was the thing that he always mentioned because he was brand new. I love his story. I love Temenos. He was awesome. Very cool character, especially with his Japanese voice dub. Like he was just really sarcastic, and like you could just tell that he was a badass. Even though he was trying to act weak at times, but you could tell like he'll mess you up. And he was really smart too. Like
Oh
it
yeah, no, of
like
course,
figure
yeah,
stuff
no,
out.
definitely. I loved the overworld abilities for a lot of the characters too. Um, and they change depending on the day and the night. Like with Throne, you can
Oh
just
yeah.
steal things, or you can take people out at night. I love that.
Hmm.
Um, did you use Temenos's like overworld ability a lot?
A little bit, like he could have people follow him and stuff. I didn't really use that too often, except for in the late game when you could get Alrond or whatever. I could have him follow that for power leveling purposes. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can pull out Alrond and he could give you like that 100 times XP bonus, which is nice. Um,
Hmm.
the one that I used probably the most was Steel with Rone. She was always in my
Yeah.
part. I was robbing everybody. I was robbing little kids. Like it didn't matter. Everyone was getting stolen from because I needed that loot. So.
I
Um,
love when you're going to steal something. It says like you have like a 20% or like a 2%, and you're like, I'm gonna take the chance.
yep.
I'm gonna take it. One of the really cool things I really liked about the game is sticking with the characters is going into like the various pubs in the game and just hearing the little banter going on between them. What'd you
Mhm.
think of that?
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, I love the banter between all of them. Yeah, you go in the pub. Sometimes you talk to them, and they would say something that was relevant to the story. Some, I think, once or twice they even gave me like an item when I talked to them in the pub.
Yep.
And then sometimes when you're just like finishing a quest, it would pop up and say there was like travel banter, and you just have to hit like start or whatever, and then you could listen to it. And I always did that, and they would be talking like, "Oh, so you believe in this, huh?" And it was cool. All 8 characters, like you said, were amazing. This is one of the best cast of characters I've ever seen in a game. So. I loved it.
Oh, definitely. And they all come from like various different locations. Like it's
Mhm.
all different landscapes and all. Like you have Hikari starts in like the desert area. And it starts. Oh, I love his opening where it just starts off and there's a giant battle going on. Like that was such a cool aspect. Just throws you right in. It reminded me of like 300.
Mhm. Yeah, really cool. Yeah, I mean, should we what do we want to go over? We want to go over our favorite characters. Should we go over what our main party was?
Yeah, let's go over our four are the. I mean, obviously, eventually you're gonna have to use all 8 just because you
Mhm.
have to, for the final boss. But the main four we love to run with. You go first.
So my main party, of course, I started with Hikari, so he was my warrior. Temenos, of course, was in every party. Especially, I loved when you rolled at night. He gave a buff or something or a debuff to the
Yep.
enemy.
Hmm.
Throne was in my party always as well, and she also had a night buff or debuff. So combined, you were buffed and the enemy was debuffed at night, so it was fantastic. And then Ochet was my fourth. I loved Ochet for the awesome monster summoning abilities that you could have. There were some really great monsters that you could pop out and mess people up with. So that was my main four: Hikari, Temenos, Throne, and Ochet. Those were the ones I rocked with for probably like 60% of it.
Okay, not bad. So obviously I rocked with Throne because she was my starter. Then I used Particio. I really liked Particio. I really liked the whole merchant
Hmm.
aspect. One of his abilities, you can hire
Yeah.
like people to come. And did you find? I'm wondering, did you find the guy? You have to do a side quest to unlock him. I cannot remember the area he's in, but it's right outside of a main town. And if you beat him in battle, you can hire him, and he's just extremely OP. Like completely destroys so many people, and you can just hire him. And you have
Hmm.
like get him for like 5 tries. It's a pretty OP like briber basically.
I'm not sure I know what you're talking about. I know that I defeated some ninja or whatever, and then I was able to summon him for like 50,000 leaves or whatever in a battle. But he only popped out once and did damage. It wasn't like someone following you. I think you're talking about someone
No,
following you.
it wasn't someone following you. No, it was not someone following you. It was someone you could like summon for like 50,000. Yeah, I think it was. I
Yeah,
think
I
you.
did
Yeah,
that.
did a ton
That
of damage. Yeah,
yeah, that helped me beat the main story boss.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
So I had Throne, I had Particio, I used Casty a lot. I really liked using the Casty's ability. She has a lot of buffs and debuffs as well.
Mhm.
And I just overall liked her as a character. And my last person, I use Oswald a lot. I loved his scholar. I loved being like just like a giant mage, basically doing
Mhm.
these like crazy spells. A lot of them can inflict damage on multiple enemies, which is huge, especially with the break system because you're trying to like whittle down enemies so they're not in line to fight.
Mhm.
But yeah, that was like my main party. But I did often swap out very quickly. But the two that would usually always stay in there would be Throne and Particio.
Mhm.
Hikari is probably my fifth most used. My least used character, and there's no shade thrown at her, is Agnia,
Mhm. Same.
um, the dancer. Just because I didn't find the dancer class to be all that powerful.
Mhm.
But there are some later on late game abilities that she gets that can vastly improve your ability to defeat powerful enemies.
Yeah. What about jobs? Like, which jobs did you have on them? Should we get into that? Let's do that.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, we can do that. So for hang on, let me arms master, all 6 weapon types. For the final boss, I had like the secret boss. Arms master I put on Hikari.
I had Arms Master on Hikari as well. It just made
Yeah, just
sense.
because for those who don't know, Arms Master is like an unlockable advanced. It's not like a secret class. I mean, it's in most JRPGs. They have some type of class like this. You can wield all different 6 weapon types. You get all these different special attacks. It's pretty much like the OP, um, you know, class. Um, for a while before I ended up not using it, but I used the inventor class a lot, like when I first unlocked it, and I used it on Throne a lot. I thought that was really cool. I unlocked it right at the beginning of the game, mainly because I started with Throne, and that
Hmm.
area is like right after that. Did you use that class at all?
I mean, at the end game, I put it on Agnia just so she could actually be
Hmm.
more useful. But no, I didn't really use that much. I on mine, see, I had Hikari with the Arms Master. On Throne, I gave her a merchant secondary since I wasn't
Okay.
rolling with Particio much. Throne was like my Particio. Like I could use her to summon people. I could use her to donate BP, which was something I did a lot.
Oh, see that? Yeah, that donating the BP was awesome because
I
you
would
could just
donate.
stack to. Let me guess, you donate to Hikari.
Nope. Oh, Chet. And then I could
Okay.
power, and then I could use her big monster summons to like take out the whole board, like the light revenant and stuff. Yeah.
Hmm. All right, that's not bad. Did you use the Arcanist? Arcanist?
I had it on, I think Oswald, but I didn't use it much.
Okay.
That was kind of late game. I guess like my core party. So Hikari was Arms Master. Ochet, I just gave her Warrior just to give her a little bit more damage and weapons. Really, I mainly
Hmm.
just use her for her monster summons. Like that. That was the main thing. Um, Throne, like I said, had a merchant secondary, and Temenos, I gave him a scholar secondary, so he was both cleric and mage for me.
That's
So
exactly what I did. I did the same thing with him. I cleric and mage. Basically, I I experimented a lot in this game with giving different characters different classes and just running around the world and just fighting different enemies.
Hmm.
One thing I really liked is when you switch classes too, like they get different outfits.
Yep.
Like I love that, and they're all unique to different. Like it's not like, oh, well, this is the thief outfit, so everyone wears the same outfit. Like it's unique for the character, which I really enjoyed with that.
Yeah, it was cool.
All right. Do you have any locations that you want to shout out before we get into some spoilers?
I mean, not really. All the locations were pretty cool. Quick shout out, I guess, to the secret island or whatever when you were doing Partitio's story and you had to
Yep.
go to the island that was owned by what was his name? The the
Oh,
rival merchant, the
yeah,
rich
the rival
dude.
merchant. Hang on, what's his name? Hang on, I got it
I
written
forget
down.
his name.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I got it written down.
But his
Sorry.
little secret island and the boss fight that occurs there was really cool. I thought all of the environments were awesome, like all these different cities that kind of matched each character.
Yeah,
Um,
the secret island's Rogue Island, by the way.
Yeah, Roke Island. Yeah, yeah, that was cool. But really, it was all cool. Like the whole game was awesome. The frosty environment with the scholar dude was awesome. Oswald.
Oh, when
It was
how
just
about when he's
all
in
great.
prison? When he's
Yep.
in prison, that's
Yep.
that's pretty cool. I really like New Delsa. It's like, do you remember that town?
Was that Throne's home? I think it
Yes,
was
it's the
like the
new.
dark.
Yeah,
It was like the dark
yep,
town. Yep.
yep. I really love that whole area. I think it's really cool.
Hmm.
But there's so much variety in area. Like you go from like a leafy forest to like this like it's like pouring snow to this like desert. It's really really interesting, and each area has like unique. Do you has like unique dungeons in them? Like
Hmm.
it's such a cool game. I just love exploring. Like I would often find myself just running around the areas. Like I didn't fast travel a lot, just running around, soaking in the amazing 2D HD art style
Yeah, it was incredible. I agree.
and the music. Oh my gosh.
Great music, no doubt. Yep, the combat music, the town music was great, and the music that each character got when you were doing like their main story and stuff was cool.
Yeah, I actually put on today. Some of my students, we were writing papers, so right, and I put on some Octopath 2 music in the background,
Nice.
and one of my students goes, "I feel like I'm in the Shire." It was so
Nice.
funny. Yeah, it was good though. One kid asked me, "What game is this from?" And I told him. He's like, "All right, I'm gonna look it up." And he looked it up. He's like, "I'm buying it," and he bought it right there on Steam, which is pretty funny.
Heck yeah.
All right, do you think you want to get into spoilers now?
Let's do it. Let's get into spoilers.
Yeah, let's spoil the crap out of this game. Here we go. So right away, I want to know which character had like any like crazy surprises for you, like in the end.
Like the best story and surprises.
Yeah, best story, surprises, anything really.
Yeah, I'll say first of all, Hikari was who I started with. His story was super textbook and very obvious. Like that story
Oh
has been
yeah,
told a million times, where it's like the father wants to name his heir to the younger son, and you just knew that he was going to get killed before he could make it official. Like that always happens. But that was a great story. My favorite story, probably again, my boy Temenos. I love his story. There was lots of ups and downs. It starts off with the pontiff gets murdered.
hmm
He's the inquisitor that serves the pontiff, kind of. So he's trying to solve his mystery, and as he's solving the murder mystery, it just keeps getting deeper and deeper. You find out like that the Sanctum Knights, are corrupt, like the leaders at the top, and
yep.
they want to usher in the darkness or something. And it's just it's pretty dark. Um, and then of course Crick, my boy, gets murdered.
Oh,
Um,
I
that was sad.
lost it when Crick got murdered. I was like, "You are!" I'm like, "No way! There's no way they're killing him off." And then they just kill him
I
off. I'm like,
saw it. I
"No!"
saw it coming, unfortunately.
Oh my
Like
god!
when he was investigating by himself while we were asleep and he's like getting into books that he shouldn't, I was like, he's gonna die. This sucks. I was like,
Yeah.
why didn't you wait for me?
Speaking of like Temenos' story though, like that whole corruption of the church is
Hmm.
it's so interesting because there's so many parallels to real life with corruption, and there's corruption in all these major organizations, and like the church is not innocent of that itself.
Hmm.
Um and Vados, the architect, the like the final
Yeah.
boss who's like in charge of everything, that was like awesome.
Yeah.
Um yeah. It's it's just so cool. I like Flame Church in general, like the whole like area too.
Hmm.
And just running around the church and just finding things. And he's a cleric, but he's also like a detective, which I love. I
Yeah,
love like a nice mystery, searching through the books and everything. That was great.
he is. Yeah, he's like Batman. He's out here solving crimes.
Yeah.
He was awesome. I just love him so much.
Yeah, my favorite overall story is Thrones, though. I really enjoyed the whole aspect of her, like basically trying to discover her past and
Hmm.
discover like her family. And she starts out in this like rogues, like thief, get like this thief corporation, and then she like the Black Snakes, and she goes in and she tries to figure out like basically like why her life's like this, and it is like pretty crazy. Like, okay, the mother is so weird. The mother.
Yeah, the mother was she was a creep. I didn't like her at all. She was evil, and I didn't like her. She was really
How about her
creepy.
2D? How about her sprite? Her sprite is
Oh, she was
so weird.
nasty. She looked like
Yeah,
Ursula or whatever from like Disney, you know?
yeah. And then the whole like when you find out the final boss is Claude, like the true leader of the
Mhm.
snakes, that was
Yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah, I don't know what was up. He's like a vampire or something, apparently. Dude could just
Yeah,
live
like he
forever. And
yeah,
like everybody was his kid, pretty
yeah,
much.
everybody I was about to say everybody's his kid. He's like, "Oh, I'm the kid of that." I did like the whole aspect of like she's trying to find a key to like take off like the basically the bound the thing that's binding
The
her
caller,
to
yeah.
her, yeah, the collar, which even though she's like gone, she's like left the Black Snake, she's got out. Um she still wants that collar off. Also, the opening is pretty cool. How it's like you have to like they tell each of them like you're going out on this. Oh, there's a betrayal. Someone betrayed
Mhm.
you, and they just tell everyone that to see who survives.
Yeah, basically they just make them kill each other to see who the strongest one is. Yeah.
Yeah. Overall, though, that was pretty cool, and I love the whole the final location, Lost Seed, with like all like the. It's just such a dreary town, and
Mhm.
it's like all this is like just. It's like gives off so many creepy vibes. How about the guy who's like running the I don't even know what you call it, like the gondola, not the gondola, but like the do you know what I'm
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about when they get yeah
Yeah.
yeah it was a
The
gondola, right?
freaking the gondola, yeah, the sky thing. The
Yeah,
sky lift,
that
yeah.
guy was that guy was like, oh well, I haven't seen many people here, stuff like that. Like it sets off a really creepy vibe, and it
Yeah,
fits the tone of the story.
yeah, he'd been living forever apparently, and he knew Throne's mom, because she took the same trip. So, yeah,
Yeah,
that was cool. You could tell that he knew a lot more than he was putting on. Yep.
yeah. All right, so we've done kind of Throne and Temenos' story. So want to just hop in and kind of Hikari's too.
Hmm.
Um, we
A
can
little bit.
yeah. You want to hop back to Hikari real quick?
Yeah, let's go through them. I got notes for each one. So Hikari, my notes and what I'm going to say, he's the prince, right? Very
Hmm.
textbook case of betrayal. He's the good one. The good one. His older brother's the general guy who's evil.
Yeah,
General Mugen
Mugen,
or whatever. Yeah. And he just
Mugen,
wants to
whatever.
wage war and kill everyone. Whereas Hikari, he's a half blood, because his mom was like a slave or a peasant or something.
Yeah.
So he only has half of like their evil blood. Like they have this weird evil blood that like urges them to kill.
Dude, how about anytime like it would like freeze and it would zoom in? It's like kill, kill.
Yeah, you had to fight it. Yep.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I did like the whole like when you go and visit like basically where he was born, like his hometown area, and then it just gets like overrun and like overthrown, and it's like oh, it hits. His goal is basically to just reclaim his homeland. That's all it basically is.
Yeah, basically, yeah, his dad wanted to make him the heir, but as they always do, he didn't publicly announce it and make everybody swear allegiance to his heir. Instead, he tells both sons privately. So of course, the old son, he kind of knew this was going to happen, and he just kills his dad. So he takes the old son, usurps the throne, basically, and frames Prince Hikari and says that like he tried to
Yeah,
overthrow and you're an outcast. So then you have to gather allies and retake the throne. Is basically his
yeah.
story.
How about Ritsu though? His friend, like basically
Mhm.
betraying him, going to
Yeah, that was
Mugen.
lame. That was lame. He was trying to get power basically and
Yeah, he's
rise above
power
his
hungry.
station. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a very textbook, cookie cutter story for a JRPG and a warrior class.
It was cool though.
Um,
You had what's his name? Kazan or whatever, the Eagle of Ku,
yeah,
the
Kazan.
really
Yep.
smart strategist who later you find out is even smarter than you thought because he
Yeah.
plays into the end game.
Yeah,
And then
yeah, I love that. Yep. Hmm.
Mai from like her clan or whatever, the Sphere people in the frozen area, she was cool. You finally won
Oh
her
yeah,
over.
no, definitely. All right, want to go to Agnia?
Let's do it.
Yeah, so
You
she's just
start
like a
us off.
dance. Yeah, so she's a dancer. She comes from a really poor family, and the whole village is poor. And basically, she's trying to like get money to help like her family basically make it big. And she is a renowned dancer, and she wants to bring joy to the world as well. Which was like her mother. Her mother did the same thing. Her mother was like a world famous dancer as well. Um, Basically she idolizes this one dancer who is from the same village as her, Dulciana.
Dulcinea, yeah.
Dulcinea. How I can't. It's a weird name. Um, but she ends up actually becoming her rival, which is that was kind of like weird. The whole mind blowing thing when she gets there and she finds out like that dancer is like not like this great person as she expected.
Hmm.
But what I really liked is when you went to different areas with her and you would like try to bring happiness to the area and like you join the bar, you know, when you go to New Delsa and you end up dancing for that bar that's like
Hmm.
kind of like kind of not a rundown bar, but it doesn't get many people, and then people start coming there, and then they start sending the other like popular places start sending people to like basically like you
Shut
can't
them
do
down,
this,
yeah.
yeah, shut them down. That was pretty cool, and then it culminates in um like the big festival at the end with the whole dance solution. That whole like set piece with the dance and you're fighting on like the giant crowd. That was so cool.
That was cool. Yeah, Agnia was cool. She was just like a all around good, kind person, wanted to spread joy. Her
Mhm.
mom was like a famous dancer,
Yeah,
and her mom died, I guess.
yeah,
She meets the biggest star in the land, who we find out was the apprentice of her mother. Her mother trained Dulcinea. Um, so yeah, but then she ends up defeating her in that big dance off. So that's awesome. And she finds her own apprentice along the way. You find that little poor girl in the desert town,
yep.
who was like a kind of like a troublemaker, and you train her as a dancer. So she finds her own way. That was kind of cool too. But yeah, that was a cool story, but one of my least favorite ones, but still very
It
good.
was it was a much more lighthearted one.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a oh my gosh, the end of the world's coming.
Hmm.
And we have Particio the merchant, obviously. And his basic goal is just to eradicate poverty and revive trade across the land. That's all he wants to do. Is just like he wants to, he's always thinking about, how can we like bolster the economy. Very, very an economic man. Um, I it is funny though how he kind of got like he looks back and his father kind of got screwed over and basically signed over the town.
Hmm.
No, like but it was he was trying to help everyone, but in reality, the person he signed over the town to was like new. He was just like a kind of jerk. It was Rogue basically.
It was Roke.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. He played
yeah.
him.
Played him like a
Um,
fiddle.
Yeah, basically, like they started that town together. Him, his dad, and Roke. They started the
Yeah.
silver mine or whatever. And yeah, he basically had them sign something that basically says the landowner can take it back anytime. And the landowner, we find out, was Roke all along. Um,
Yep.
so like he leaves, Roke leaves the town, and then everything goes to shit because they're getting overtaxed and stuff. And you have to go beat up the bully guy. And then you find out that Roke was the
Gif.
guy after
Yeah.
all.
Gif's the greedy landowner.
Yeah,
You
you
beat him
beat
up.
his ass.
Um, one of the cool things is like, oh, go get. I think it's is it a million leafs? I don't know. I
A
forget how much the
hundred
money he
billion.
says. 100 billion. He goes, go get 100 billion, and he finally he gets the loan from the really rich guy. Okay, that was pretty obvious when he was pretending to be the homeless guy. I'm like, this is definitely the rich guy who like runs the town.
I
It
didn't know
definitely
that.
is.
I didn't see that.
Oh, you didn't? See, I saw that right away.
Yeah, I didn't know that was him. Um, yeah, like he basically like, so there's like the steam engine, right?
Yeah.
And Roke invents the steam engine, or his people do, and he wants to use it to just give it to the rich and powerful people. And our boy Partitio wants to set it free, basically, so that everyone can have a better life. So yeah, he agrees to buy it for 100 billion, which is an insane sum of money, like a crazy amount of money. But yeah, you find Alrond, who's the richest noble in the West,
Yep.
and he agrees to finance it after you impress him by opening up that strip mall, basically, or that department store.
Oh yeah, the department store. It's like the
Yep.
first version of a department store. I liked going in there though. It was pretty cool to trade in there.
Yeah, some good stuff in there. Yeah, so then you get the money, and then there was the showdown on Roke Island was super cool.
Yep.
You beat
Fighting the
Roke like he's like
train.
the big train. Yeah.
Yeah, fighting the train was kind of cool. Fighting the giant steam engine. I thought it was really cool how they incorporate the steam engine because I know you didn't play the first one, but if you go back to the first one, it's like it's like set like in a time period like before this. Like this is much more like they have like the steam engine. It's like you can see the development of technology if you play the first one compared to this one. And the games are not related, obviously. I mean, well, if you do the secret final boss, but the super secret one, they do have like
Mhm.
a slight connection back to the first game, but it's not really.
Yeah.
Um, all right. Do you want to go
So
to
that was
Ochette next?
Partitio. Yeah, let's get
Yeah.
to
Do you want to go to
Ochet.
Ochette next? All right. Ochette the Hunter. She's a beast woman. Um, and you're basically trying to stop the calamity known as the Night of the Scarlet Moon.
Mm.
Um, this is pretty cool. Okay. What part? You know how at the beginning you can pick like a partner?
Uh-huh.
Which one did you pick?
Yeah, so you get to choose between the fox and the owl. I went with the
Yeah.
fox, which was
So did
Akala.
I. So did
And the
I.
owl gets pissed and turns evil and runs away,
Yep.
and you fight him
And
later.
and the same thing happens if you pick the owl first.
Yeah.
Obviously, it just fights. It does nothing really changes. But I really like the whole idea of like the beastlings versus the real humans. That whole aspect they're
Mhm.
feuding the whole time, and then in the end they come together to save the day. And then in the aftermath, you see that they are still getting along to that day, and they're
Mhm.
that was a pretty cool story as well. I liked it, but like you said, I liked Ochet's character, and I liked all the different beastlings and like talking to them and how they're like one with nature, and they're very different than the humans. They're they kind of they remind me of like Native Americans almost,
Yeah.
where they point out like the hypocrisy of the humans and they're taking land.
Mhm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, they were kind of like Native Americans. Yeah, they would just kind of hunt for what you need and use jerky as a currency, basically. And
yep,
yeah, they were just. Oh, Chet was like just super good person, good hearted. She wins people over with her good heart. Yeah, her main story is you had to go out and collect the three fabled monsters, basically,
yeah, the
who are
three
going to help
legendary beasts.
who
Yeah,
are going to help protect the island against the
yeah,
calamity. Yep, and you get two of them plus the child of one because the
yeah.
one had died, the ocean one, and that was
I like how
cool.
you have to. I like how you have to fight them too to like basically release them, which is kind of cool
Hmm.
because they're and you have to awaken them too because they're not awake, and they're
Yeah.
all in like different areas of the map, and they're all like I said, vast different like wastelands and everything like that, which is really cool. Did you like the final boss of the
Of what?
Ochet's story?
I'm trying to remember what it was. I remember fighting the dark owl, like the
That
corrupted one. Is that the final boss for her?
yeah, I mean that's what it takes it's either the owl or the fox. It takes it over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was good. It was a good fight. It was cool. And then you saved it basically. You kind of
Hmm.
pushed away the darkness. Yeah, I like Ochet. Or yeah, Ochet. That was great stuff. All about it.
All right, let's go to Casty. Oh,
All right.
Casty. I really her story though is very cookie cutter JRPG though. Character loses her memory, trying to
Hmm.
figure out what's going on. You find out there's a lot more to her past than that's believed, and you end up saving the day in the end. You're trying to stop a deadly plague spreading across the land,
Hmm.
basically set up by one of her basically friends from the past who just it is kind of weird. He kind of just like changes abruptly, like very
Yeah.
much like I'm evil now.
Yeah.
Um, but I love the whole idea of like the rain coming down. It's like poisoning people and it's basically using like it's killing them.
Hmm.
That was a really cool aspect. Um, what'd you think of her story overall?
Yeah, I liked it. So Casty, she was from the Heirs Apothecaries,
Yep.
like extending hand to all of those in need or whatever was their
Yeah.
slogan. She lost her memories. She washes up in this town. When people find out she's an Heirs Apothecary, they're scared of her. Like
Yeah. They
it's like
freak out.
they're freaking
Yeah.
out. And when you come to find out later, the reason why is because that her team member, her apprentice or whatever, randomly turns evil and poisons like that whole abandoned town by burning some kind of like herb, and like the burning goes up into the
Yeah. It
clouds and
goes in the
creates like a
rain.
poison rain. Yeah. So that was cool. She saves the day. She defeats him at the end. You get the guards to help you. I remember because like she went to the desert town and she stopped like a little war there by saving the people who
Yep.
were attacking. And then
Yep.
later on, those same people, when you're convincing the guards in the city to make everyone go inside, they're like, "Oh, I remember her. She's good. They saved the day over there." So they agree to help you.
Yeah, that's another thing I really want to praise this game about is that like each character is broken up into like chapters. So you have like chapter 1, chapter 2. A lot of characters you meet in previous chapters, they end up coming back later
Hmm.
on and they make references to what you did and they overall like move the plot of the story, which is really cool. I really enjoyed that. Or you might just see them in new towns and you can
Hmm.
talk to them and they have like different dialogue, even though even you don't even have to talk to them, but they have new dialogue.
Yeah.
Um yeah, that was really cool. And I love the Harborlands where she floats up and like where you start. I thought that
Hmm.
whole area was really cool.
Yeah.
Just a town right in the water. I'm a sucker for that.
That
All
was good.
right. Yeah.
I think there's one
And
more
yep,
that we
we have
didn't really get into.
Oswald. Oswald. And who this is like this is probably one of the more this is one of the darker stories.
Oh yeah.
He's basically just he's trying to avenge his family who was murdered by his former colleague and friend Harvey, who has a really, really messed up like overall storyline to the point where he convinces his daughter, well, Oswald's daughter, that he's actually her father and that Oswald is like this crazed murdering man. And it is
Hmm.
so messed up, but in reality, he's doing experiments on the daughter. It's
Hmm.
like so messed up. And Oswald, you can like you see him losing control and like tearing himself down. And he basically like he almost loses it. He like breaks down and you end up in prison. The whole opening when you're in the prison, you have to escape is so cool. I
Yeah.
love that whole area and it's such like a it reminded me of like one of those old like prison experiments where they treat the prisoners basically like crap. And it's like, all right, you're just in this giant lot. We anything goes as long as you like don't mess with the guards.
Hmm. Yeah, Oswald was cool. He was betrayed by his partner
Harvey.
Harvey.
Yeah.
They basically framed him. They thought that he killed his wife and daughter.
They
Um,
basically said he blew up the house.
they burned it down, blew it up, whatever. We come to find out later that, of course, like you said, his daughter's alive and is brainwashed. We find out that his wife was like semi alive. She was turned into a monster, and we had to fight
Yep.
her
You
and
fight
kill
her.
her. Basically, that was great because Harvey's trying to get the one true magic, so he's like sacrificing everybody to get it. Dude
Yeah.
was a crazy bastard. It was great killing him. So
Definitely. Yeah. This is one of the darker stories. And when they revealed that, like, he's like basically brainwashed the daughter, I'm like, that is so messed up.
mm-hmm.
So, and then when you fight your wife, basically, that is again, that was like, oh my gosh. And
Yep.
when Oswald realizes that's what he has to do, oh my god, it kills him. Absolutely
Yeah.
kills him inside.
Yeah, it was really
Um,
dark, but eventually you kill Harvey, you save the day, you get the daughter back, and you take the daughter back to like your assistant, and she helps raise her while you're
she
off
helps
saving the
raise her.
day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep, and then in the end, he'll be reunited with his daughter, so that's great.
Mhm.
So at least he had
In
that.
addition, yeah, in addition to the main stories, we also have the character. We have like the crossing the path story where they, you know,
Hmm.
they go into a little bit deeper where you like they have I didn't I meant to write down exactly who goes with who, but
I
they
kind
kind
of
of
remember.
yeah they it reveals a little bit more about the characters and it delves more in their relationships.
Yeah, and it also helps explain some of the things to come in the final
Oh
night or
yeah,
whatever. You had
yep,
Hikari was teamed up with Agnia.
yep, I knew
Um,
that. Yeah.
and their whole thing was basically to deal with that chick who played the harp.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't remember a ton about that. I just remember that you kind of I don't know. I forget that one a little bit.
Yeah, overall though, like those cross path sections were pretty cool. It was different than the first game, and it gave you more reason. It gave you more of like a oh, these characters are traveling together, they are helping each other out. Whereas in the first game, it really didn't do that, which
Hmm.
is really cool. And yes, it does contribute to the overall end of the game where you know you're sitting there where all the characters interact and they have like one basically
Hmm.
villain they have to like come out and fight. And I know you struggled with the final boss a lot there.
I did. We'll get to that. I remember, yeah, two of the crossing paths that really played a key role in the ending. There was so Casti and Ochette were paired
Yep,
together, I believe,
Castiano chat.
and
Yep,
you saved the forest from the shadow, like the
yep,
evil shadows, which later on come to play and are some of the enemies that you end up fighting in the night. So that was cool. And then there was the one where you Temenos and Throne. Hey, our two
yep.
favorite
Here
characters.
we
They were
go.
they were a duo. You release that girl from the top of the church. She ends up getting killed. You find out what she was protecting, which was like the mirror, and that mirror was how you reignited the flames. So
Yep.
that came into play in the
Yeah, and
finale.
then you find out that the final boss, Vidi the Wicked,
Yes, Vide
is
the Wicked was the final
yep
boss.
was manipulating everything behind the scenes. He was pulling the strings. He's the reason why all these he had a hand in all these enemies and all your major antagonists in this game. He had a hand in it, which was
He
a
did.
pretty cool way to wrap it up and like connect everything.
Mhm.
I did enjoy that.
Yeah, there were a couple little betrayals that I want to maybe get into real quick. I don't know if you saw coming. I did. For one, Temenos, when you first go back to Flame Church at the start of the night, you find out that that one girl, Mint or whatever, who was like
Yep.
super bubbly and friendly. It turns out she was
Hmm.
actually part of the evil cult, and you have to
Yep.
fight her. I saw
Hmm.
that coming 100%. Did you see that
Cool.
coming?
I did not see it coming. I thought Mint was actually gonna play like a role in the end where she really helps you, and you find out that she is helping the party all along.
No, I immediately thought that she was a secret villain. And the reason why is because you're at the start of Temenos' story, you are with the pontiff, right? And he's talking to
Mhm.
you, but he won't tell you what he wants to say in front of Mint. Like he's like, no, no, we can't talk about this right now with her. Beat me later, and then he ends up getting killed. So that immediately drew suspicion to her, and the fact that she was super friendly and bubbly, I just like this is a cover. Like she's gonna turn into a villain. Watch, but then when you finish Temenos' story, she's not the villain. So I've started to think like, oh, well, maybe she is good. But then when the final comes with the night and you go back there, sure enough, there she is, all evil. She's part of the cult, trying to extinguish the flames. That was actually a pretty cool boss fight against her. She was semi strong. It was good.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think I thought the whole overarching theme, overarching like underground, where there's people pulling the strings, the whole thing was really cool. I liked they did a really good job at putting all the stories together,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah. All right, so we have that. All right, and you did not do the super secret boss.
So we can talk about that after the final
Okay.
boss, the story boss, if you want. So you want to talk about that first, which was V-Day?
Yeah, we can talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so of course, you know, you reignite the four flames, and then you go to the big island in the middle that appears, and you find out that the Eagle of Ku actually was kind of betraying you a little bit too. He had a part in all
Yep.
this. He was playing everyone from the beginning in order to bring back V-Day, I guess. So like he summons V-Day and then fucks off somewhere. I don't know. Maybe he turns into V-Day. I don't remember. But you end up fighting V-Day. That was the main boss, the story boss. And yeah, I did struggle with this. I was not prepared. Um, I had basically mainly focused on my core four, and my other characters were like kind of weak, like level like 24, maybe 30 at best. Didn't have the best classes, didn't have the best equipment. So V Day beat my ass like 2, 3 times. I couldn't beat her. I was getting frustrated. I considered almost just dropping it and like just watching the ending on YouTube because I wanted to move on to my next game, which was Mafia. But I'm glad I spent 3 or 4 days grinding, leveling up. I had to reload a save. I had to reload a save from before the night so that I could recruit Alrond to use his plus 100% XP to help me power level a bit, which was very helpful. But yeah, I ended up getting all my characters like into the 70s and 80s, thanks to like the power leveling stuff. And I unlocked all of the subclasses. I unlocked a bunch of more powerful weapons, more powerful skills. Like I was ready to go. So when I finally went back to fight V-Day with my powered up class, um, it was funny. He actually beat me the first time, but then the second time I whooped his ass. Like
Good.
finally beat him. Rolled the credits. Very happy.
Yeah, no, this is I know this boss can be challenging. There is a big difficulty spike here, but it is supposed to be like, the final boss,
Hmm.
culminating bring all these stories together. So I kind of understand that, but yeah, it was it. I had an idea. So being familiar with so many JRPGs, I knew that the final boss they're gonna make you use all 8 party members. I already knew that.
I
Games
didn't know
like this
that.
do it all the time. It happens in very many of the classic Final Fantasy games like this. A lot of the 16-bit games, you end up having to use all your party members, and they usually get split apart, and you have to break them up into 2 parties. So I had a feeling that was like that. So that's why a lot of the time I was actively switching out characters. The only character who was always constantly over leveled was Throne. Again, that's because I started with her, and you can't take her out until you finish her story.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, the boss was, I mean, not super difficult for me, just because I was like ready, and like my characters were pretty much leveled up to the point, and I had already done all the different side quests that you needed. Like I completed everything. I fought all the extra bosses. I had everything unlocked. I only died a few times to her, and then I, um, you know, defeated him.
Yeah, me too. I mean,
Um,
I died 3 times to her, and then realized I was not leveled or ready for this. So I reloaded the save, literally lost like 5 6 hours of gameplay. But it was worth it because having Oswald was like such a such a boost. It was way worth it. The second time around, I died once. So in the first section too, which I didn't even understand how, but I did. But then the second time, I beat him. He was tough even when I was like level 80 and stuff and had all these stuff. It was still kind of tough. Finally, though, the final attack that finished him was I'm trying to remember what I think it was. The higher skill, the 50,000 mercenary came out and took him out. And
took
finally,
him
when
out.
he
Yeah.
died, I was like, yes, finally. And I got to roll the credits. So I'm glad I persevered. I'm glad I put in those 4 days of grinding and preparing and actually beat it instead of just watching on YouTube. So that was good. And I beat the game in 69 hours. That very nice.
Nice, nice.
No,
Um,
exactly 69 hours and a couple minutes. So that was perfect. And I did try the secret boss, by the way.
yeah, Galdera.
Yeah, Galdera. I did do all the BS that you had to do to unlock him. I went there and I did try to fight him one time. He absolutely freaking destroyed me, and it wasn't even close. Like it was so one sided. He destroyed my first party like instantly, and I was like, oh no 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 no. I was like, I'm not doing this. I was like, this ain't for me. This is I'm not a JRPG vet enough to beat this. I'm not going for the platinum anyway. So I bowed out. I was like, "You win, man. You got it."
So, do you know anything about Galdera's backstory?
I think he's the final boss of the first game, right?
Yeah, he's the final
That's
boss
what
of
I
the first game.
heard.
So he basically comes from like another. He comes from the other world and just and is basically trying to he's basically challenging you. Originally, they did not plan on having this in the game.
Mm.
It was one of the last minute, not last minute, but like one of the last things they added in. They're like, hey, let's add this super secret boss. I really enjoyed it. It was very much more challenging than V Day.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it can definitely if you go in there and you're not ready, you get your butt kicked right away. Like definitely
Apparently, I wasn't
immediately.
ready, even with level 80 characters and like all the best gear. He whooped my ass, and I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm not doing this." I was like, "You win."
You have to have a plan of attack to go in there because I've seen people with like level 9 all party members level 99 and get wiped out. I've seen people who are there's like runs that all the characters are like level 10 and they can destroy it.
I saw one run where he basically beat it with just Casty. Like he powered her up so much where she was able to attack like with that wind attack like 8 times in a row, and they
Mhm.
all did 99,000 damage each hit and just destroyed it. Like if you have a perfect plan, yeah, you can do it. But I was like, no, I was like, not for me, man. I beat the main story, and that was good for me. Um, I couldn't handle Galdera or whatever. He was tough.
Yeah, very much so. Especially because there's just so much like if you screw up one phase, you're screwed. Though you're like, oh crap, you better just reset now. You screw up. I remember I was fighting him and I screwed up like one turn, and I was like, oh, I'm so screwed now. I had to redo the whole thing. I'm like, ugh.
Damn,
But it works out in the end because I 100%ed it.
you got the plat.
Yep, I did, and
Very
I
nice.
100%ed it on Steam as well.
Oh, okay, very
Yeah,
nice.
I
Not
did
on
both.
Xbox, huh?
No, not on Xbox.
All right.
I'm a Sony fanboy
Yeah,
for
that's all right.
Hodge.
It's fair
So,
enough.
um, all right. I do want to talk about some of the side quests. Do you
Okay.
remember any of the side quests at all?
Yeah, I remember some of
Like
them.
some of the more memorable ones. What do you have a favorite one or a memorable one you want to throw out there?
No, I mean there were a couple. Obviously, Partitio had some nice ones. His little merchant ones, like where you had to raise 100,000 and buy the ship from that girl, the
Mhm.
ship maker, and that was pretty cool. Also, you got the music machine, and then you were able to buy the songs and play them in the inns.
Yep.
That was cool. I did that.
Yeah.
I had one where it was like up in the northwest or whatever, like the cliff region, where like I went into like a secret dungeon or whatever, and I killed a boss, and you find like a sister in there. And you find out that her sister was killed by said boss, and then you go back to town, and her sister lies to her parents and is like, "Oh, yeah, we found out that she left to go study abroad or whatever.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
didn't want to break it to her parents." But yeah, I mean, there were others too. What were some of yours?
So one of my favorite ones is I wrote down what it's called. It's called Procuring Peculiar Tomes, and this is the one when
Mm,
you this unlocks the Arcanist job. But this one you go through and you gather rare books,
hmm
like you're going around finding the books, and you can actually go in and like read about the lore of the world. And I just think that's so cool because it builds on like again it builds on the lore. It gives you a little backstory about what's going on in the entire game. And I actually did go through and read them, and reading it is fascinating because it just builds upon like the timeline of the events of what's going on in the world, like stuff that's happened before the game started.
hmm
Gives you a little bit more about that, and then again, you unlock the Arcanist job, which I really liked. It's one of the
Yeah.
more powerful secret jobs. Um, I also like the missing girl. You made a reference to it earlier, the missing girl story, where you end up finding her at the top of the church, and then she ends up getting killed.
Yep. Yep. That was the.
Very disturbing, very emotional because again, it reveals like it reveals a lot about the game.
Mhm.
What's going to happen in the end game. Um, I like that one. Did I like the one where you unlock the reinforced merchant coin? It's one of the you can make a lot of money. It's like one of the coins that if you have it, you make more money from defeating enemies.
Mhm.
And it's when you get the ancient curse box.
Yeah, I don't know if I remember that one. Um,
Um, you have to there's like a ton of they give you a ton of clues. You have to solve a bunch of like they give you like very vague like hints at what to do, and you have to go do those like tasks.
mhm. Yeah, I don't know if I might have not done that one. I didn't do all of them. I did many of them, but not all. Um, but yeah, it was good. I was just remembering while you were talking, my boy Temenos, how he would always call Crick my wayward lamb. He was like, "Follow me, my lost lamb, my wayward lamb," and then Crick would get mad, like, "Don't call me that. I'm a sanctum knight." Man, shout out to Crick and Temenos. That was one thing at the very end. They did a nice little epilogue. I do wish that they would have had Temenos go back to Crick's grave and be like,
Yeah,
we finished it, man. It's done. But they didn't do that. But that's okay. I did. I went back to his grave and I gave
good.
him. I was like, hey, shout out to him. And here's a screenshot which you probably can't see. This is the very end of the
I could see
game
it. Yeah,
where it says the dawn has returned or whatever. The dawn has come. Nice little screenshot. There you go. When you beat that's my Hikari because he was my main character. What a game, dude. What a game.
great game, amazing game. Again, just so much to like, so many good things about this game. Just like the music and I let's just talk about the music for a second. Like how like some of the areas are so peaceful and like you can just sit
hmm
there and listen to it and be like, oh, this is awesome. But then you get some of the battle themes that are so up tempo and they're like rock and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so you just bobbing your head to it. Yeah. Some of the battle themes are awesome. Some of the boss themes too.
Yeah.
Incredible soundtrack.
Really great music. I loved it. I didn't listen to any podcasts or anything. I was just fully immersed in the game, especially like when the night hits and you're fighting the shadows. Like the music that plays during that is just real dark and edgy, and I liked it. Yeah, it was foreboding.
Did you like the whole day night aspect of the game?
hmm I did, and I mostly did. I did most of my stuff at night, but I would switch to the day when I was in town so that I could rob people with Throne A. If you had Agni powered up, you could rob people at night with her entreat ability. She basically
Mm.
would just like because she's a hot dancer, I guess. She would just convince people to give up their
Seduce.
stuff. Yeah, she
Yeah,
would
she was
seduce
just
them
seduce.
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you could rob people at night with her. Good stuff.
Dude, go talking about that. In the first game, there's like a brothel. There's a whole brothel quest,
Nice.
which reminds me of that. Yeah, it reminds me of that. But yeah, overall, amazing game. Absolutely love it. Yeah, unbelievable. I really wish we could get a third game, but we won't.
We might. Maybe one day. Is the
Well,
studio
it
dead?
won't be the studio that is no longer at Square Enix. They got rid of them.
That's so lame. I don't
Yeah, so
understand the decisions that Square
yeah.
Enix makes
So
sometimes. I really
we
don't,
could
but
get like a spiritual successor to the game
I'll
made
take
by
that.
that team, but it will not be Octopath 3.
That's fine. I don't care what they call it. I'll take it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this game was awesome. I said that this game might have been in my top 10 of all time. I don't know if it is, but it's close. It's knocking on the door. I love it. This game's like a 9.5 out of 10 for me. Really, really, really enjoyed it. Glad I played it. And I got to say that this game has made me more excited about playing more JRPGs. I'm really looking forward to playing East 8 soon. I'm going to play that. I'm looking forward to playing the Star Ocean games and all of these games.
All great choices. All great
So
choices.
Midnight might be turning into a weeb. We'll see.
Weeb.
I'll never be a full weeb though, because Western RPGs are still probably the best. They're amazing. So I'll never turn my back on the Western greatness, but I'm happy to add in the JRPG greatness with it and just enrich
Hey, I
my life.
love to hear that.
Yeah. I don't. I guess that's all I have here. I don't think I have any more final
That's all
thoughts. Let me
I have
look here.
too.
Oh, a couple of my notes here. So Ori, the little scrivener from the newspaper girl,
Yep. Yep.
um, she was from Partitio's story. She's also
Yep.
shows up at the end of Casty's story to do a story
Hmm.
about the heirs of apothecary saving anyone. And then later we find out she was part of the cult,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
she almost
Coming.
died.
I didn't see that coming either.
I didn't either. I didn't see that coming, but I was wondering why she kept showing up. Yeah, she was one of the people who snuffed out one of the flames, but she didn't die. She lived. She goes to kill herself, right? But because of Partitio, we find out because like he won her over. She apparently stopped just short of a mortal thing, so she lives. That's cool. Let me see if there's anything else. Oh, I thought it was cool that the clips that they played during the credits were actually from your gameplay.
Yep.
I
From
don't know
your
if you noticed
individual
that.
gameplay.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, I
because
knew that. Yeah.
yeah, it shows the exact party that you were using and the exact classes and outfits fighting these bosses. So I thought that was a really cool touch. Um, let's see. And your companions at the end of the game, they depart in reverse order that you got them. I don't know if you noticed that. Like the last person to
I
depart
did
the little
notice that. Yeah, I did
fireplace
notice
was
that. Yeah.
Hikari. The second to last for me was Casty, and she was the first person that I got. And then it was Ochette. It was literally in the order that you got them. They departed in that reverse order. So I thought that was cool, like some really nice touches. And I guess those are my final thoughts. Good stuff.
Yeah. No, definitely. Like I said, I love this game. So many good things to say about it. I know the second we end this, I'm gonna be like, why didn't I mention this? Why didn't I mention that? But yeah, amazing game. I definitely want to replay it eventually again. Maybe I'll replay it on Switch.
There you go. Switch 2.
Because it's gonna need that extra power. Oh yeah.
Yeah, man, why not? You get 60 frames on it. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's it. I guess let us know, guys, in the comments if you played this game. I'm assuming you did if you're watching this episode. What did you think? How do you rate it? Is it in your favorite games of all time? Just any final thoughts. But yeah, take it away, Sean. Anything else you got
That's
for us?
it. No, that's it. Thanks for listening, guys. I really appreciate you coming out here. Leave us a like, leave us a comment. Tell us what you think. Yeah, and if you like these kind of videos, these kind of podcast episodes, we have more coming. So I'm always down to talk JRPG. So if Midnight, if you finish East 8 and you really like it, we can do an East 8 episode
Yeah.
anytime, anytime. And maybe if I play, I don't
Some
know,
Western greatness.
some Western Witcher game. I don't know. Maybe we'll do a
Oh,
Witcher
dude, you would
episode.
love Witcher 3.
No,
You would. You would. Yeah. I don't know. What are
I've
you afraid
tried.
of? You afraid of the length? Afraid
I've
of
tried.
the real time combat?
I've tried. I just can't do it. I can't do it.
Well, it took me a while to. I dropped it like 2 times, 3 times, but then I finally committed and did it and loved it. But all right, but yeah, let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. It's been 58 minutes. Awesome
Mhm.
minutes. Thank you guys. Go ahead and do the ending, Sean.
Thanks, guys, for listening. We're gonna be back next week with a regular episode. We hope you listened and we hope you enjoy. And see you guys.
Bye.
Woo!